And welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Hounded Souls. J-Ron here, and today we are looking at a dragon build from Elden Ring. This build was very, very strong, very powerful build. I have one negative thing to say about it, or two negative things. It's slow casting because we're trying to maintain the purity of the dragon incantations, which are all really strong in their own way. But they're just slow, and I got to a point, and I'd say like it was around mid game, and that kind of went away. But around mid game, I started to get bored, and then it wasn't bad. Like we were destroying everything, but like it just started to get a little boring, and then when you had to start working around certain issues with the build, it got actually fun. I mean, with using problem solving and things like that. So I thought it was really good. It was excellent through the PvE campaign. I feel it'll be super good in PvP as well. You get access to a lot of cool weapons with the way the stats work out. So let's go check it out. So at level 172, and I'll break it down what I think would be good for the 150 meta as well. But 172, sorry. The Lana Dragoon has 40 vigor for an alright amount of health. I thought 30 wouldn't be enough. And then I never really do. It just seems like it would be a piece of paper. 30 mind, so we have a reasonable amount of FP to cast our incantations. 30 endurance, so we can wear the armor we're wearing and be able to actually like run around and swing our weapons properly and cast enough so we don't get stuck. We don't get stamina locked. 17 strength for weapon requirements. 25 dex for other weapon requirements, and a little extra damage because the majority of our weapons, if not all of our weapons, are dex influenced. 9 intelligence, which is just base. 40 faith and 60 arcane, and that's where the dragon incantations scale off is of the faith arcane combo. And really, you don't want to go beyond 40 because all the power from the incantations come from the arcane side. So 40 is a good even balance, and maybe you can go down to 30, but the higher your arcane is, the more damage you'll be doing with your dragon incantations. And a little side note, also madness and sleep pots scale off of arcane as well, so keep that in mind while you're doing all this fun stuff. For like a 150, I would bring down endurance by 10. You wouldn't be able to wear the armor that I'm wearing without a equip load maximizer, but equip load talisman. But I think 10 down on endurance, 2 down on dex, and 10 down on faith, so you'll have, instead like the endurance will be 20, faith will be 30, and a 23 dex. And I think that would work out pretty well within the PvP 150 scene. And yeah, well, that's how I would do that. Well, now for our weapons. So we kind of shuffled between 3 mains, and there was a lot of weapon changing in this because there were a lot of situations where fire and bleed, which were absolutely amazing, worked really well. But sometimes it felt like we were just kind of not hitting all too hard. So let me break it down. Elmo's Pole Blade, the Knight's Blood Greatsword, and the Occult Claymore were the weapons I used through the duration of the playthrough. I feel that the Occult Claymore got the best amount of damage that we could go for, and it gave a little stun lock to our enemies. The Knight's Blood Greatsword had, if you look at the blood loss buildup, pretty amazing blood loss buildup. And then, but it felt like you're hitting them with a toothpick. Then Elno's Pole Blade had the fire and bleed buildup, and it's a really fast, cool weapon, which I really, really enjoyed. Very satisfying to use, but it also kind of like didn't give a lot of. It didn't kind of jostle the enemies around, exceptions I think some PvP it worked out, and like the knight-esque enemies or the smaller enemies, it worked out pretty well. But yeah, Occult Claymore was my buster, whereas these two were the fun ones. Like, I mean, obviously we're getting tons of bleed damage. and this was just amazing. But the other weapons of note that I used were Rivers of Blood, which really good katana, fire bleed damage, and that Ash of War Corpse Piler is ridiculous. It just melts everything away. Bloody Hellas, which I thought was a fun little addition. I feel that it'd be better for PvP. And the way the weapon art works, you kind of do a little backswing, and then you give a ferocious poke with your heavy thrusting sword, and it does decent damage. But other than that, yeah, I didn't use it much for PvE. It was fun when the moments I used it. It was fun in PvE, but you're not getting much stun locking out of it. We did run with the Twin Blade for a while. Then we got this, and then I kind of just outruled that. The Naginata, awesome. I think it'd be better for PvP. And by the time I upgraded it, it was too late in PvE. I was in Fair Missoula. Enemies were just too tanky. Even though this was still good, enemies were too tanky. Not taking much stun from me. And I think... Oh yeah, and our Dragon Communion Incantation. Give your Dragon Communion Seal, which boosted helped out this, gave us the best potential with our Dragon Incantations. And also a little side note, I think Vike's Warspear will be really great on this. And, and the combo of the Vulgar Militia Saws, like a dual wielding them, have a great moveset, which I didn't get these just by happenstance. I just didn't get these till later in the game, and that was pretty much set when I was doing. But I saw these as they came, and I'm just like, wow, this would be actually a really great combo. Because I imagine when you upgrade it and to put a bleed on it, the blood loss is huge. And you have two of them, and then that's just double trouble right there. You know what I mean? That is that for our weapons. Our armor set we chose was the Clean Rot Helm. I thought it looked really great and represented well with the dragon build. Just such a beautiful set. Gave us a decent amount of poise too, 58. And you put the Bull Goat Talisman on it, it will be even more poise. But we're not talking about talismans right now. But yeah, it looks really good. Worked really well. Then another side note on that, the Banished set. I personally like the Banished set with the hood on, like the scarf around the helmet. But I think that would work really good with this as well. But it's your build. If you choose to do this, go in the same direction. Your build, do what you want. Put the armor you want on. For our talismans, Urchi Favor +2. Radagon Icon for our faster casts. Urchi's Favor +2 increases our health, stamina, and equip load. Flock's Canvas Talisman, which I was on, so these three were on nearly the entire time. This, however, was the one we rotated out. The Rotwing Insignia is great when you're hitting with your weapons, and a lot of the weapons I had were fast, so obviously you're going to get some good damage if your damage keeps increasing with each hit. I also say the Fire Scorpion Charm for your Dragon Incantations, or wherever you're quick casting. I chose a Fire Incantation for my quick cast. That works for that. Godfrey Icon for, we get a lot of unique Ashes of War and spells that charge up. That works well for that. Shard of Alexander for your Ashes of War. That do really well. The Roar Medallion and the Roar Medallion for our breath weapon attacks or breath attacks from our Dragon Incantations. And obviously Faith Canvas Talisman worked out pretty well for a while until this. And you can double them up. I mean, you get a good boost on your incantations when they're doubled up. But I didn't feel like we needed it at the end game set. And anything else of note? No. Boom. Crimson Medallions. Or Cruel Alien Medallions. I mean, I don't have the +2, but you know what I mean. It works out. Boom. Boom. But that is that. For our consumables, standard knives, bombs, pots. You know the drill. Put out what you want. I put my rune arcs here. I put with everything else. I have right here in my fast bar, my light, my flasks, my horse. Um, Now for our incantations, which I could show you the hot bar we have, but I think I'll show you because we used more than what we had in the hot bar. So for our incantations, Dragon Claw I think is an essential incantation for this. It has a nice little smash down, gives a little stun effect on guys. It's not as slow as the breath attacks, but still not super fast. Dragon Maw was the boss killer for a majority of the bosses. It's awesome. A lot of damage. And it has, I think it does physical damage. So there's no elemental side with it. So if boss was like highly resistant against like magic, fire, frost, blah, blah, blah. This was huge. And every enemy, it takes physical damage. And like that was huge. It was huge for a majority of the boss fights. And that's when it got kind of boring for me when I'm like sitting there destroying each boss. Like 4 or 5 hits at a time. Aguil's Flame, super sweet, super awesome. Good for AoE. Similar to say about Exege's Decay, but throw Scarlet Rod on there. And that will also help me kill a couple bosses. Borealis Mist, same jam, just ice damage. Super awesome. Grail's Roar, I thought this was a better option for PvP. Reduces your enemy's attack and defense, and it gives them a pushback if they're close to you. And then my ready casts, which I didn't have on for a while. I finally put them on. It was Giant's Flame, Take Thee, and Lightning Spirit. Just something quick to cast, something easy, something to charge as well, just because the dragon incantations are so slow to throw. And you can actually, if you can charge these or just quickly throw them, they were pretty rad. So that was that. And other things of note. Here, I'm just going to, that's what I'm doing. We didn't use Theodrix's Magma. I don't think it's bad by any means. I just look at the picture and I looked at the animation when I used it because you have to test out everything. I got a little nauseous. It reminds me of vomiting. And like all the generic dragon stuff is good, like the Rotten Breath, Glintstone Breath, Fire Breath, blah blah blah. But once you get the brand name, I mean, there's no point. These have a greater. I don't think they necessarily do more damage, but they do have a greater range. So keep that in mind. I also used a couple. I used Frenzy Flame for a little while. Blood Flame Blade, huge for a long while. And I feel like any of these would be good on this build as well because they're all arcane and faith scaling. Black Flame, always a winner. I think like Catch Flame or an O Flame would be really good on this as well. Flame Sling, something easy peasy. Any of the lightning incantations would be a winner. And if you want to go deeper into like the role play of the dragon, throw these bad boys on the wall. These look the aspects of the Crucible. I feel that would be, even though they don't have any arcane scaling, they would be appropriate for this because they're essentially just dragon themed incantations, you know? Like all in all, I would say this build was fun. Be it the 2 gripes that I had of it being slow and I got bored after a while, it was still a worthwhile playthrough because you're going to get your challenge in later on in the game, especially when the bosses start hitting harder and are much faster. Then you're going to have to start problem solving to figure out what works because you might not need dragon incantations for everything. So keep that in mind. But all in all, this was a very worthwhile build, and I think you might have a lot of fun with it. So everyone, I hope you have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the footage, and I'll see you later. Peace.